Welcome to another edition of Negro Please. I am your host, Dallas Scott, co-host over here, Hollywood Huff.
What up?
I'm not reading our mission statement today because there's just a whole lot of stupidity going on right now. Like, it's not even just stupidity. There are some things that are so important that we're not paying attention to because we're worried about a damn Popeyes chicken sandwich. Like, and our very first show, we ate the Popeyes chicken sandwich on the air. It was very, very good, and I really enjoyed it. But there are some things in life that are a little more important right now that we as black people and minorities in general should be paying attention to. Yes. Again, I'm Dallas Scott. That is Hollywood Huff. You know, every week we have this conversation like, man, it's a slow week. What are we going to talk about? And then Monday rolls around, right?
Every Monday.
And it's like, okay, they're like, okay, we only got like an hour, and if Quan lets us an hour and 20 minutes, like, what are we not going to talk about? Like, to me, the biggest story in the country right now, and it should be, is Byron Allen versus Comcast going in front of the Supreme Court. A few weeks ago, we talked about the Supreme Court was trying to hear whether or not you could fire a person because they're gay.
Right.
Remember we talked about that, and we said they haven't made the ruling on it yet. They just had the proceedings. They have not made the ruling. But we said, as minorities, you have to pay attention to that, because if they say that you can fire a gay person just for being gay, then everybody else is next.
Right.
Well, now, Comcast, the cable company Comcast, who, like, if black people are ever going to actually boycott something and stay out of it, but I know they ain't giving up their cable TV, it should be Comcast. Comcast, essentially, they weren't giving Byron Allen a shot. Right? To be in the media business. Byron Allen sued him for $20 billion, and he won.
Right.
They took it to the Supreme Court. And the problem is that Comcast says that in order for his lawsuit to be valid as discrimination, it has to be 100% the reason that they did not include him was because he's black.
Right. And now on that part of it, like, to elaborate, basically the first civil rights law that was passed in America, I can't remember the exact year, it was
1866.
1866.
The Civil Rights Act of 1866.
And basically it was the first step towards, like, 40 acres and a mule. And it basically said that, look, you know, in business, you cannot discriminate against a person for being black. There was no, you know, amount to how much of your discrimination had to do with them being black. It was just, you cannot discriminate against a person because they're black. Meaning, like, if you sell hamburgers, you can't charge white people $1 and then charge black people $10 for the same hamburger, right?
Correct.
If you are giving out loans, you can't give them to white people and not give them to black people. So it basically
you have to give them the same rate based on credit. Like, if we have the same credit score, you have to give them the same rate. You can't charge them more for being black.
So it made everything on a fair ground. Right. And so what they're trying to say is that they're challenging that law that was placed as the first step of civil rights, basically. And they're trying to say that, like, look, you have to prove that in order for that law to be valid, for us to make a ruling based on that law, that it was 100% based on you being black. So,
which is an improvable stat.
Right.
Because all they have to do now, if the Supreme Court comes back and says, no, they're right, it has to be 100%. The reason they're not including you or firing you or excluding you doesn't have to be 100% that you're black.
Right.
You've changed everything, right?
Right.
Because now it could be, you know what? We told him to wear a green shirt. He wore a purple shirt today.
Right. So that's why we're firing.
Yep.
And then if they ask for a breakdown, they could say, well, yeah, 20% of the reason that we fired him was because he was black, but 80% of it was because of the shirt. And that would be legal.
The other way.
Right.
It could be 99% black, but that 1%, he wore the wrong color shoes.
Right.
So we're firing.
So if Charter wins, that would make it so not just Charter, but other companies, including your job, whoever you work for, could fire you.
Comcast is the one that's Charter.
Not Charter. I'm sorry.
He already
Comcast.
beat Charter.
Comcast. Not Charter. Yeah. It's Comcast. So if they win, and he's already won at the Ninth Circuit Court,
yeah.
and they're taking it to the Supreme Court. in
Charter
like 4 days.
bowed out of it.
5
Yeah, they're
days,
going on
right.
the 15th. On the 15th.
Okay, so, and basically, if they wins, what this means for civil rights is that any minority or even any white person, you can be fired based on your skin color and the way you look, as long as that's not 100% of the reason. So your boss could walk up to you, not like you as a colored person, say you're fired, and he could literally write down the reason you're being fired is 99% because you're black, you're Asian, you're Hispanic, you're whatever.
You're gay, whatever.
Whatever. And that 1% could be, he doesn't move fast enough.
Right.
You know what I mean? It could be anything. Yeah. And obviously the flip side of that is if Byron Allen wins this, which he should because he already won at the Ninth Circuit, that law will, in a sense, be upheld in civil rights. And we should be able to win pretty much any other case with ease.
Well, here's the thing, though, right? So if they repeal the original act from 1866, everything that came after it that was based on that act
right.
is no longer valid.
Right.
You've completely rewritten the Constitution on multiple occasions because everything that you put into, if the Supreme Court comes back and says they're correct and this is unconstitutional, even though it's in the Constitution,
right,
everything that's happened after that is no longer in effect.
Right.
You have to go back. The Civil Rights Act of 1996 is gone.
Right.
The Civil Rights Act from, I think it was the one with Martin Luther King. All of that's gone.
Right.
The Americans with Disabilities Act, which falls under the Civil Rights Act, that's all gone.
Right.
You have to start all of this all over again. And you're talking about a 100-year process to get to this point anyway.
And this is all because this started because cable companies who basically give money and they license so many different companies to have new TV shows and new networks and all this stuff. Of all the money that they gave away or have given away, 0% went to a black-owned business or a black-owned company. That's how this all started.
Right.
And so they're basically trying to continue.
And legally, they're supposed to give money towards not just black-owned company, but minority-owned companies.
Right.
And they didn't. Byron Allen, as a minority owner of an entertainment company, went and sued. Basically, it's like this, right? So Comcast has like 900 channels, right, on their cable company, right?
Right.
They have to allow X amount for minorities.
Right.
All right. They're not doing that.
Right. Exactly.
So he went and was like, "Hey, I got product. You guys have to do this." They're like, "Nah, we're not going to do it with you."
Right.
So he sued because they're black. The only black product they have is Oprah.
Yeah.
And which brings me to another point. I don't know, and this actually kind of disappoints me in Oprah, is I don't know why she's not on the bandwagon with this. I mean, I get that she has to protect her own assets.
Right.
But this is for the greater good, though, right?
Yes.
They actually even made a comment, Comcast did, that they didn't want to create another Robert Johnson.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know who Robert Johnson is, you've seen Essence Magazine, Jet Magazine, BET. He created and started all that. Right. He's the original black media mogul.
Right.
Before Oprah came along, before Byron Allen, before Tyler Perry, it was Robert Johnson. And Robert Johnson had a lot of power in Hollywood.
Yeah. He
sold his company for like $2 billion to Viacom. That's when BET went to crap. And they started, they got rid of video, sold all this stuff. Willie's on the chat, on our, following us on Facebook. And he says, the movie Philadelphia, he's right. Philadelphia with Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington. Mm-hmm. They talk about this in a way that, but Tom Hanks' character was gay. It's the same situation here. We're like, yeah, we know he's gay, but we're not going to say that's completely why we fired him, even though it's really why we fired him. It's because he showed up late 3 times to work.
Right.
When in reality, you clocked in 2 minutes late, twice in the last 20 years.
Right. And it's funny. I was listening to the interview about this, and he mentioned something about the Congressional Black Caucus, which last week
we talked about.
I know you talked about, and you wanted to get rid of them. And I'll add to that statement at this point, which I believe is like 48 members of the Congressional Black Caucus or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think 6 or 8 of them are standing with him in this dispute that's basically taking place at the Supreme Court. What are the other 40 members of the Congressional Black Caucus thinking? What are they doing? Why are they not involved here?
This is what I told you last week. They don't do anything. They just jump around and say, "Hey, we're black and we're in Congress." They have no purpose whatsoever.
When you talk about things that like will really impact black people, forget the Popeyes chicken sandwich and the business model.
Right.
I'm an entrepreneur myself. I have a business. Forget that. Like that is low level. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, even if I was the CEO of a company as big as Nike, that's still and as big as this event is, that's still like a low level business thing. We're talking about something that will literally affect the minds of every human being that has a television in this country. The media, the programming, we all know how powerful the media is. We all know, I don't even have to spend an hour explaining to you how powerful the media outlet is, how powerful representation is on television. This is something that will affect that for the rest of our lives and even our grandchildren's lives. Why would you not want to be a part of that? Not even people who have TV. This is something that affects our civil rights as humans. And your president is actually on the side of the cable
we haven't
companies.
Even got there.
You know what I mean? So why, as members of the Congressional Black Caucus, why would you not, as much as y'all claim to hate Donald Trump, why wouldn't y'all be in this fight to fight against him here?
So when the protocol is, when you go in front of the Supreme Court, each side gets 30 minutes to argue their point.
Right.
Comcast gets 30 minutes. Byron Allen gets his 30 minutes. Comcast is only taking 20 minutes to do this because the other 10 minutes they're giving to Donald Trump's Department of Justice to come argue that they don't need the Civil Rights Act of 1866. Think about that. Donald Trump is sending the Department of Justice to the Supreme Court to argue that you don't need civil rights. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 should not be in the Constitution, and you should not have fair and equal treatment.
Because that's literally what that says. In business, you will get fair and equal treatment.
Yes.
No matter what color your skin is.
Yep. That's
literally what that says in our Constitution. And people who are Republicans who are so for the Constitution. Constitution. That's all you hear. It's the Constitution. It's unconstitutional. They want to kill Obama because he said something that they said was unconstitutional. Now here they are saying that, this shouldn't be in the Constitution.
Right.
The thing that just basically guarantees that all Americans will be treated fairly in business. Not that one side will have the upper hand or one side would have leverage. It's not even forcing anybody to do business with anybody. It's just saying there will be fair treatment.
Right.
If you work with white people, then work with black people.
Right.
If you charge them 50, then charge this group 50. Yep. That's all it's saying.
So it's the first time ever the president has ever sent the Department of Justice to argue against civil rights.
Wow.
In the history of this country,
the
first time ever the president of the United States has sent the Department of Justice to the Supreme Court to argue against civil rights.
I really wish we could have somebody who would, for all the people who say, oh, Donald Trump's not racist, look at all the things he's done for black people. Like, I want to hear their take on this.
Yeah.
I really want to hear what they have to say with him combating this, right? Because I kind of get quiet. Like, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but as a person, I really don't like him. He disgusts me. As a president, I call it like I see it. If he does something great, that was good. I liked it. If he does something I don't like, no, I didn't like it. I think it was terrible.
And if you follow me on Facebook, I'm not a fan of his, but I've given him props for some things he's done for military. Some things he's done for military veterans that I think they should have been done a long time ago, and he put it on paper, so it has to be done. And I respect that, and I give him credit for that. But when you are literally going against the Constitution and arguing that we're not all equal.
Right.
Think about that.
Yeah.
And again, if the Supreme Court says that Comcast is right, it essentially erases every civil rights inclusion in the Constitution since 1866.
Wow.
And there's a part of me that says there's no way in hell this conservative Supreme Court can do this. But then I've seen the things that have gone on in this country in the last 6 months. So
they will set us back literally 160 years.
I'm going to tell you who's not going to get my vote this year. And that's Elizabeth Warren. And here's why. Anybody get those dang text messages?
I get them all the time. I have no idea how to stop them. I have no idea where they come from.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got one of those text messages. Hi, this is Elizabeth Warren's campaign. Who are you voting for this year? And I said, I'm not voting for Elizabeth Warren. Not yet. And they're like, well, what can we do to change your mind? I said, well, November 15th, Comcast is going to the Supreme Court trying to erase the Civil Rights Act of 1866. I think she needs to do something about this. Their response was, well, you know, it's already at the Supreme Court. There's not much she can do. I said, that's not true. All she has to do is get up on stage and say, this is not right. Make the American people aware of what's going on.
Right.
You know, like all you have to do is be like, whoa, 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 whoa. I need you guys to know what's going on, is about to happen in the Supreme Court here.
Right.
That's going to put pressure on the Supreme Court to do the right thing, right? You would think so. Once it becomes a public thing like that. Problem with a lot of these Supreme Court cases is, unless you're involved with them, nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
Because they see so many, they only see X amount of cases a year, but it's quite a bit. And each side gets 1 hour, or total hour, 30 minutes apiece to say their piece, and then the guys are going to make a decision on it. Right. So a lot of it we don't even realize unless it's something that's being overturned from lower courts. Right. Like, and it becomes a big deal, like abortion bans or something like that.
Right.
The rest of the stuff we don't even know about.
Right.
This is one of the things that nobody's paying attention to, because they're watching all the rhetoric and stuff that's going on in the White House and all the fake news, and they're worried about Epstein. Did he commit suicide or not commit suicide?
Right.
Like, there's all that other stuff going on that this is being buried underneath that. All Elizabeth Warren had to do, or any other politician, be like, whoa, we need you guys to understand what's going on and how important this is for our country right now.
Right.
And of course, nobody wanted to do it before Election Day because it might have affected people's votes. I mean,
right. Yeah.
Now, and then like her response was, well, what could we do for you next year? I'm like, well, next year I might not even have the right to vote. Right? Because they repealed the Civil Rights Act of 1866.
Yeah.
I might not even have the right to vote next year. So I don't care what you do next year. I'm talking about right now.
Exactly.
So Elizabeth Warren campaign does not get my vote. I'm just.
Yeah. You at some point, it can't be about votes. It has to be about what you're doing for the people. I mean,
that makes too much sense, though.
God forbid you actually hold these politicians accountable. If you vote for these people, and in situations like this, you realize, you know what, this person isn't really representing me at all, vote them out. Put somebody else in there who will do it. Here's something that people don't understand about the power of your vote. And they always say, like, oh, well, if you don't vote, that's like voting for the other guy. Nobody even knows who the other guy is. Like, don't let somebody punk you into voting. Like, here's the thing. Your vote matters. You know what else matters? When you don't vote, right? Now, if people say, oh, if you don't vote, then you don't have the right to complain about anything. If you give me the option between idiot number 1 and idiot number 2, I'm not about to put a vote in for an idiot. You understand what I'm saying? I'm putting in a vote for someone that I believe in, someone who I think will do a decent job. It's either that or I'm voting because, you know what? This person has to be out of there.
Right.
So the person who I think has the best chance of beating them, I vote for them to get the other person out.
I personally think that this coming election, anybody that's been in office three terms or more, we should just vote out. Anybody that's been in office 10 terms, like they should just force mandatory retirement on and give them Social Security and tell them to go and let them worry about where the Social Security money isn't going to be when they collect it.
The iPhone came out in 2008. If you've been in office before 2008, it's time for you to go.
It is.
We live in a completely different world right now.
Yep.
I hate to tell you that, but we do. The people who, if you're over 65 and you've been in office since like the 80s, the 90s, some of y'all even the 70s, it's time to go. You made enough money. Go retire. Go do something else with your life. Pass the torch. Yeah. It is time
because you're obviously not doing anything, right? And it'd be different if you were doing something and the country was thriving because you guys were they were putting together legislation that was making an impactful difference on American lives,
right?
But they're not.
They're not.
Yeah.
Most of what gets done in this country that really changes the way we live our everyday lives is by executive order of the president.
Yeah. Or Supreme Court rulings.
Supreme Court rulings. Yep. Everything else, y'all just go back and forth and argue about. and y'all just put Band-Aids on broken legs.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. How long have we been complaining that the whole system with our veterans is just trash and terrible? Like, it's never been good.
Yeah.
And we've been complaining about this for years.
Since Vietnam War, for sure. We've been like,
and when has it even gotten to the point where we were like, oh wow, things are so much better now?
Yeah.
Never. We've never gotten there. Like, we've taken literally a half step forward in 40 years. Like, it's time for a lot of these people to go. And the minute we stop listening to these bashing ad campaigns and just voting on people
that's the
because
thing,
of
like,
whatever,
I feel like
you know
those
what I
should
mean?
be illegal. Like these horrible, like, just over the top ad campaigns.
Yeah.
Like, does anybody actually? The problem is that people do actually believe them, right?
Yeah,
like, you do believe that this person. And the sad thing is, like, there's a little bit of truth in all of those ads,
of course,
and a whole lot of falsehoods in all those ads.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably like 10% truth, 90%
It's like,
BS.
did you know Senator such and such voted for Planned Parenthood to sell baby parts in Mongolia? And it's like, what? Like, he's kidnapping kids and selling their parts? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and what it is he probably voted yes on some bill that made abortion legal, and somewhere in the 8,000 page docket that bill was, there was something about it being okay for a 6-month, pregnancy to be aborted. Like, they take the truth and spin it in so many ways, and yeah,
context,
they're probably right. You know what I mean?
Context.
So much is taken out of context, but it's like people buy into that, and then they vote for these people, and they feel good about the votes, and it's like, you know what? One big thing I've noticed, like, especially in the black community, we'll vote for somebody black, and then when that black person gets in there, we monitor them to the teeth. Like, we are watching their every step, their every move, to see if they're doing some of the things that we wanted them to do. I want people to do that with everybody they vote for. All those names, when you go vote, and there's literally like 30 names of people you're voting for, and you have no idea who those people are, pull out your cell phone and take a screenshot. Just take a picture of, like, the people you're voting for, right? Some people just vote straight Democrat, right? Take a picture of all the Democrats. And in the following year, follow them and see what they do. Just Google their names and see what they do. And you'll be amazed how many people are doing absolutely nothing. They're just collecting their six-figure paycheck. Yep. And however these $100,000 people become millionaires in a period of 4 years, once they become in the Congress, once they join the Congress and the Senate, and they become councilmen and whatever, it's amazing how much money they earn on the side, or how their other businesses start thriving. Like, follow these people, and you'll see real quick that most of the people you're voting for are trash. Like, if you really want to drain the swamp, start paying attention to who you're voting for, and hold people accountable. That's where the real change is going to come.
But we don't do that. We vote and then wait. Don't worry about it until next 4 years.
Yeah. We just
Such a busy week. This is the important thing, guys. It's going to happen on November 15th in front of the Supreme Court. You have to pay attention to this, because it could seriously wipe out everything we know about civil rights in this country.
Right.
Where do we go from here? Man, there's so much going on this week.
I know.
Popeyes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we might as well just talk about these Popeyes chicken sandwiches.
I have not had Popeyes chicken sandwiches this time around. It's good. I like it, but I'm not standing in line 45 minutes again for a chicken sandwich. In fact, I ended up going to Jack in the Box today, and they actually have a pretty decent chicken sandwich I'd never had before, but I got it because I couldn't wait in line for the Popeyes. Maryland. Guy walks in, decides he's going to start cutting in line, gets into an altercation with another man, and he gets stabbed to death.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you start, because I have a different take on this.
Shout out to Kareem. We do the sports show, Unnamed Sports Show, and he said something, and I was like, he's absolutely right. He said that, you know what, this man didn't get stabbed over a chicken sandwich, and saying that, it's more of in the context of, look at the community, right? Look at where these people are, and a guy goes in and get a chicken sandwich, he cuts in line, they get into a fight, and he gets stabbed. And it's like, yeah, there was an argument about a spot in line. There was some disrespect maybe because the guy jumped in line, whatever. But he's so right. Like, I don't think this is about a chicken sandwich more than it is about a culture. And I don't know if you've ever stood in line for a long time, but you get irritated, right? Especially when you're waiting for food, you're hungry. So you got the irritated hunger.
We call it hangry.
Hangry, right? And then you got the fact that you just been in line and you don't know why it's taking so long, because they knew all these people was coming for chicken sandwiches, right? And so I get it that there's so many underlying factors, but at the end of the day, it's like when you get into a fight, the first question people ask, well, what was y'all fighting about? What was the fight over? And in this case, it literally boils down to like a chicken sandwich, right? And it's like, it's so many instances. There's this where this guy gets stabbed. There's other instances, people getting into fights, and you seen like the viral videos, everything. That's just this culture. That's the America that we live in, where people expect fast food to be fast. And if you go and it ain't fast, people start getting annoyed real quick. You know, I've been to sit down restaurants, you order a steak or something, sometime it take an extra, 15, 20 minutes. But they'll come by, bring you some bread or some rolls so you ain't starving to death. But even then, there's like...
But then you full on bread, you can't eat the steak when you
right?
get it.
You know what I mean? Right, then you full on bread. These people are waiting in line standing, and nobody's bringing them bread. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's bringing them anything. We live in a violent culture, folks. That's just what it is. I talk a lot about, look, you got to be aware. You got to train yourself. Know how to fight. Know how to defend yourself.
I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you that no matter how well this guy knew how to fight, it wasn't going to matter.
Nah.
Because about 3 weeks ago, we talked about the Joker movie.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about never knowing what that other person is going through.
Yep.
We don't know because they haven't caught the guy yet.
Yeah.
But what if the guy what if he cut in front of the guy that's the Joker on the subway?
You see, and this is...
And you just pushed him. That little incident... I don't know. And again, we don't know. I'm making a speculation here because we have...
Right, of course.
And we'll find out when it gets resolved. But we've talked about mental illness in this country and not knowing what somebody else is going through and then pushing a button with them, right? What if that guy is mentally ill? He's trying to keep it together. All he needs is a chicken sandwich. He's focused on that. You come in and disrupt his chicken sandwich by doing something I think we all agree is disrespectful, right? Right. But to him, because he has mental illness, that level of disrespect isn't a 1, it's 1,000.
It was a tipping point.
Yes. And now you've set this guy over the edge.
Right.
Into becoming essentially the Joker, right? Like you've taken that mental illness and you've caused that break. If you ever watch CSI or Criminal Minds or they always talk about the breaking moment in the mentally ill person's psyche, right? There's always something that happens that triggers them. Yeah. A parent dying or something, seeing something else happen that triggers them. What if you're that guy's trigger?
Hey.
Because you had to have a chicken sandwich so bad that you couldn't stand in line like everybody else. You couldn't wait around like everybody else. We all know, yes, we want Popeyes to have more employees, but maybe they have every employee that can be there. I mean, it is what it is. Like you knew when you walked in the door, it was going to be a 45-minute late line.
Right.
Like I've driven by 3 Popeyes this weekend and been like, nah, I'm just not doing it because I know if I go in there, it's going. And the other reason I don't go in there is because I don't want to hear people complaining and yelling about how fast they're not moving.
Right.
I no part of my body thinks that like, oh, the people in Popeyes are just making this go as slow as possible because they just want people standing here in line. People in Popeyes, they don't want you in there any more than you want to be in there. They don't want you getting rude and angry and acting a fool.
They not making $30 an hour.
Right.
They're close to minimum wage as possible.
Yeah, they want you out of there just like you want out of there.
They trying to do is the least amount of work as possible. Trust me, the faster y'all leave, the faster they could take a break.
Yes.
You understand? Like, but that's the thing. Like, I don't think this was just about a chicken sandwich. This is not. You don't, unless there's something mentally wrong with you, you don't stab someone over a sandwich. Yes. And that would not ever be the exact reason. There was some other form of disrespect. They just happened to be at Popeyes.
Right.
If this, I believe if this same guy was at Walmart in line waiting 45 minutes to check out, same disrespect, I think we get the same result. It doesn't matter where he's at. He's at his point. And when we talk about this, imagine somebody steps on your shoe. The first time, not a big deal. They say, excuse me, it didn't hurt, not a big deal. And then you walk down the street and 5 minutes later, somebody else steps on your shoe. Man, second time somebody stepped on my shoe in 10 minutes, right? Still, he just stepped on your shoe, not a big deal. Now imagine this happens to you 5 times. By the 6th person, you don't have patience anymore. There's no more tolerance. There's no more forgiveness. This sixth person, even though to them it was still just an accident. I only accidentally stepped on your shoe. You were probably a rational person at this point will become irrational to something that you can only explain as he stepped on my shoe, right? To that guy, I only stepped on his shoe. I said, excuse me, but you don't understand. You're the sixth or seventh person to step on this man's shoe in a day. How much can any person take?
That's funny.
Even the smallest transgression, like stepping on somebody's foot.
But that's life, right? But that's life for us, right? Like,
of course.
I'm correlating this to like, you're lucky enough to be married. But if you're in the dating scene, right? You date people, and there's always something that their ex did.
Yeah.
Like they're just waiting for you to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they just know that you ain't shit because their ex wasn't anything. And like all men are, or even all women, you know what I mean? Like you expect, like, they know in their mind that it's going to come. So they manifest it coming. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I had to tell a woman once, like, I was like, judge me for my own mistakes.
Right.
Because I'm not going to be perfect. You know what I mean? But like, let me screw up before you start telling me, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that sixth person that stepped on the shoe or the sixth person that stepped in line. Yeah. And that's the thing. We don't know where other people cut in line. My guess is probably. Yeah. Because we all know that person that's in there, walks in, like, see their friend. Oh, hey. And they walk up. Now they start talking to friends. Yeah. So now you one more person back. And that happens somewhere else. Maybe this guy was just like, I'm tired of it. Yeah. You know, I'm just tired of it. Or maybe he was mentally ill, and that was just his breaking point. You never know what somebody else is going through. Yeah, it's so much could have been happening, could have been going on here, but like I said, until we catch that guy, we'll never know. But Keela says Popeyes needs Chick-fil-A service. Chick-fil-A offers better service than high-end steakhouses. I always tell people you don't know what people are battling. True, you never know what people are battling. I can't get on the board the Chick-fil-A thing. I can't. Their politics. Okay, you're not open on Sunday because of religious reasons. I get that. That's fine. Yeah. But as a corporation, when you are actively fighting for gay people to lose their rights, and you're spending money for those type of legislations, I can't get behind you on that. Because here's my problem. I'm a heterosexual black male, right? But I feel like as a minority, I have to support other minorities that are being discriminated against because I know what it's like to be discriminated against. Yeah. And I know what pain that is. And I always feel like once they come for you, I'm next. Right. We have a phone call. Is that true? It's true.
Very, very true.
Okay. It's true. Do we know who it is?
Yes, I guess it's not a real phone call. Steve, I didn't do this on purpose. I'm sorry.
You messing with me today? What's going on?
That was an automated phone call, I guess.
Why are they calling you back, Juan? We gotta. That's the Oasis massage parlor.
Did we just get a call from massage parlor?
They're like, Quan,
that's a radio phone number. So even if that was true,
they're like, Quan, you missed your 12:30
they
appointment.
wouldn't have this one.
That's crazy.
Did you see Steve's face when he heard an Asian on the phone? He looked like he was about to quit the show.
Sorry, guys. Quan missed his appointment at the Oasis massage parlor here in Vegas. You have to reschedule that. I didn't know they did phone service right now, Quan.
Word. They call you up like, hey, you late, bro. It's hilarious.
Oh, God, so much stuff going on the phone.
Yeah. Another Popeyes incident. I don't know if y'all have seen the video, but a white guy yelling at all the black people, calling them niggas, got beat down right after.
No,
that wasn't me. That was not me.
No, it wasn't Quan.
No.
I was at the Asian place.
He was at the Oasis.
He was at the massage part. Couldn't have been their Popeyes. But yeah, that video is floating around, which of course is like, cell phone video, and then there's like two videos, so it's a lot of it. You don't know who started it or what started it, but there's a white guy who just got his food, and he's yelling at pretty much all black people in line, which goes out the door, and he's yelling nigger at them. And so the video cuts out, and in the second video, it shows him on the ground getting beat. And it's like a Snapchat video. So somebody put a caption up, you know, and they took his sandwiches. So that's what happens when you are an older white guy and you go into an establishment full of black people and you yell the N-word. They will beat you up and take your sandwiches. I wish this happened every time a white person said the N-word. I really do. I wish that somebody beat them up and took something from them. I feel like that should be like a viral video game. Like, if you beat somebody, if somebody calls you the N-word, you can record it, beat them up, and take their cell phone, take their car keys, like take their shoes. I don't care. Just beat them up and take one item. Just take a shoestring. It doesn't even matter.
But you know what? I'm gonna go a step further and just say, like, we've seen World Star Hip Hop.
Yeah.
We call it world racist hip hop. But like, it's not just that, right? Like, if you call an Asian person a derogatory name,
yeah,
they should beat you up and take, no matter what. If a black person calls an Asian person, you know, a derogatory name,
right,
then they should get to whoop the black person and take their stuff. You know what I mean? You know how like the video games, like when you win, like when you win the battle and then you get to go search their body for the gold and stuff like that. Like, that should be what it is, right? If you call Latino a bad name, right, they should like get to beat you down and then search your body and take your gold and they should like ding 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 like above their heads.
But you have the video, so when the police come, you could be like, oh well, he called me a racial slur, so we beat him down and took his keys, and the policeman would be like, let me see the video. Okay, all good. No charges filed.
And it would go, if you call the white person something and you're black and they beat you down, then maybe we could just, one or two things would happen, right? Like, it would either just stop all across the board, or it'd become the world's greatest game, and people would just be calling people names to see if they can get beat down. Like,
somebody should make an app for like Pokemon Go, where you just like, you can
racial beatdown.
Whenever it happens, you just whip out your phone.
I feel like that's a hate crime. I feel like nobody do that, right? Nobody do that. Because I feel like they'll come and charge us with a hate crime because it was your idea.
Right. It's my idea.
Nobody do that.
Don't pay attention to me.
Oh my God.
I'm just a black man trying to make it.
Halloween last week. God, I don't.
There's some things we shouldn't have to keep saying, but we have to keep saying.
But see, here's my problem with it. All right, first of all, young girl, she's 4 years old. She wanted to be Princess Tiana from
Princess and the Frog.
Princess and the Frog, Disney movie.
Yeah.
She's a white girl. Her parents dressed her up as Princess Tiana. They put blackface on her. A friend of mine sent me this and was like, what do you think about this? And we've talked about this on the show before, right? And we've talked about whenever somebody's in blackface, there's always one instance where somebody, well, what about that black person? And the black person's always portraying a real life person. Right. And I've always said that if you are portraying a real life person, then I think it's okay, right? Like, here, people are going in on this little girl and her parents. She's 4 years old, first of all, so you're not blaming this child for anything.
Right.
Like,
right.
She's 4 years old.
Her parents made this decision.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's my question, right? A, she's playing a specific character, right? If she doesn't have the blackface on, do people know who she's playing? Does she get? Or in fact, I personally don't know this Disney movie.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know if I would have known even with the blackface. But if you tell this 4-year-old kid it's not okay to be black, which is worse? Telling her it's not okay to be black, or letting her dress up as her hero who was black?
And I think, you know what, that brings in a tough question, because there is a hugely disrespectful following of what blackface is in general. And in this specific situation, you have an innocent child wanting to be her black hero, right? And I think the way myself would handle it is, there's nothing wrong with black skin or having a black face, being a black person. But there has to be a way to explain, but you can't wear this black makeup.
if she wore a black plastic mask, would it be different?
I think it's different because that's what the mask is, right? Because you're actually buying a mask and that's the color. Because I remember growing up, and I think I know one year I was like He-Man or something, and obviously He-Man is white. I mean, let's face it, up until recently, pretty much like 99% of all like heroes and characters are white, right? So if you put on a mask, with the exception of like Spider-Man or Captain America's mask, you're putting on a white person's face. You know what I'm saying? So being what blackface is, which is basically black paint, and again, the history of it, I have to teach my kids, and I teach my kids a lot of things that they probably don't understand at this point, but I still try to give it to them at a level where they can get that it is disrespectful. And later in life, they'll know the real meaning of like what blackface is and why it was so disrespectful, because of a 4-year-old, and in my case, a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old don't really get it, you know? But I think this is something that's very sensitive. She could be this character without the blackface. I don't think you need to paint your face to be the skin of another race to be that character.
Like Keela's online and she on Facebook, and she's talking about that her kids want to be Ninja Turtles. I actually was a Ninja Turtle for Halloween this year, and she didn't have to paint them green. But we're not Turtles are animal, not they're characters that we know don't really exist in real life.
Right, they're not humans.
Right.
And I think in a sense of, you know, painting yourself to be an alien or a zombie, or, you know what I'm saying? Like something that's not real, a fictitious character.
But Tiana's a fictitious
She's
character.
a fictitious character, but that character is based is a human. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I mean, let's to be real, like all the characters we dress up as are fictitious. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless you're trying to be George Washington Carver for Halloween, like, you know what I'm saying? Right. But I mean, it's any of these like characters, cartoon characters, of course they're not real, but when they're human, it's a lot different than when they're a Ninja Turtle and you're painting your skin green so you can fit in with the costume, you know? As a person, I don't like the blackface at all. I would rather that this child had just put on the wig and the dress and said, I'm Tiana. That would make me feel a lot better. When I see this incident, I look more at the parents, but at the same time, I look at it more as an ignorance than as an attack. Where some people, they do the blackface and it's an attack. Like you know what I'm saying?
And again, we don't know these people, but I feel like this is a little girl who obviously wants to be Princess Tiana. Like, she loves Princess Tiana.
Right.
That's who she wants to be for Halloween. And I get it, and I understand. And I feel like when you're talking about children, there has to be a point, especially young children, 4 years old, stuff like, where we have to let their imaginations be enveloped, you know, and grow. Like, they have to be allowed to develop that, like, that imagination. And I also feel like there's a point that, like, if you tell a kid, I don't think the 4-year-old, 8, 9, 10, 11 may be a little different, but I don't think a 4-year-old understands why she can't be her hero.
Right.
And it's a really, to me, this is a very fine line.
Yeah.
And again, we're talking about a 4-year-old. And I think there's a point where, like, if you start telling a 4-year-old it's not okay to be black, do they grow up thinking that it's not okay to be black, or it's not okay to be a different colored skin than I am? Do you subconsciously, like, kids are so impressionable at those ages. Do you put thoughts in the back of their head that they don't understand and aren't capable of understanding at the time that manifest into something else?
That's so huge, because black people have been subconsciously programmed since we were kids.
Right.
You know how long, even now, people still think nappy is a bad thing.
Right.
When that is literally the way that God designed your hair to grow out of your head. And we have been told our whole lives, if somebody doesn't have nappy hair, what do they have? They got good hair. They got that good hair. You know what I mean?
They got that good money to give them some weed. You must get that crest curl.
You must have got Indian in your family. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the retarded stuff that sticks to us, that's just subconscious. You know, the teaching, again, going back to
I'm not sure saying the R word's politically correct.
It's probably not, but I'm not a politically correct person. So, but I mean, even going back to like what we were talking about with cable, this is why, again, why representation is so important. I believe if there were more Black characters and Hispanic characters and Asian characters on the big screen as comic book superheroes and just cartoon superheroes, you would see enough of it that kids would be comfortable being any race of character that they wanted to be. This is such a fine line because this is a 4-year-old. If this is an adult, I'm like, this is wrong. They shouldn't do it.
So
end of story. You know what I mean?
There's a high school teacher in California who came dressed as Common and did a rap for Halloween. This is an adult.
Right.
I've always had this thing that if you're portraying a real person, I kind of get it. And I kind of get that you're trying to portray a real person, but you're in a high school full of minority kids. How you got by every other teacher and principal and assistant principal in the school and nobody saw this. I think it's in poor taste. I don't think he was trying to be malicious. He was trying to do the Common, like he was being Common in the IBM commercials that he does, or Apple commercials that Common does, like, and that's what he's trying to do. I get what you're trying to do. There's got to be a better way to do it, right? Because
and that's what I'm talking about. Like, there's some things done in ignorance, and there's some things that are done in an attack. And again, I think this is something done in ignorance. I think he was trying to be cool and be fun for the kids, and he did blackface. And blackface in itself, you will as a white person, and I don't know how we have to keep repeating this. As a white person, if you put makeup on your face so that you appear to be a Black person, it will never be received well. It might in the immediate audience you're in front of, but somebody's going to take a picture, post it on social media, and you're either going to get fired or suspended from your job. That's what's going to happen next.
Could they make a sequel to White Girls right now? White Chicks?
Maybe.
I mean, it's funny, right? You've ever seen the extended uncut version?
Yeah.
It's even funnier.
Yeah.
But like, could that movie go over now? Could you make a sequel to that right now?
Not without backlash. You know what I mean?
So like it wouldn't, like Hollywood probably wouldn't let it be. I'm just, because we talked 2 weeks ago or last week about the wussification of America, and I feel like this is part of it though, right? Like everything has to be so offensive to us nowadays.
I think I want to say like there are some things that it's too offensive, but then some things bring up very offensive memories, and blackface is one of those things. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the issue with blackface, is what it was originally was so bad that whenever someone does anything remotely close to it, it just brings up that hate that it originated from, even if they're not. And this is what I'm saying. A lot of this, like this teacher, is done in ignorance. He's not doing it to willfully be spiteful towards Black people. He's actually trying to pay homage to a Black person, right? But because of what blackface is, it will never be perceived that way. In my opinion, he gets 1,000 times more respect by not putting the paint on his face.
Fair enough.
He could wear a name tag that says, "Hi, my name is Common."
We have this. No, I'd have to say my name is Slim Shady. We don't have a lot of time, but I want to get to this because, okay, so you sent me this article, and this God is my witness. I thought this was like a satire site. I actually had to go back and re-Google it because I did not believe in 2019 that this actually happened. In Naperville, Illinois, there's the Buffalo Wild Wings. Yeah. A family called the Vols. They went out on Saturday night. They're going to have them a little dinner at some Buffalo Wild Wings, you know, some buffalo wings, carrot, celery, maybe a little ranch,
Yes.
They have some kids with them because the kids are part of a basketball team. The hostess sits them at the table. And then they are told that the seats are reserved and they can't sit there. And the reason the seats are reserved and they can't sit there, and again, this is a true story. Like it's 2019 and this happened October 26th. And it blows my mind again, I really had to search this over and over again because I thought you were sending me a satire site. They were told that the person who was sitting next to them is a racist and didn't want to sit next to black people, so they had to move.
Yeah.
This person is a regular customer.
Right.
And I'm so stuck here on this. Like, everybody involved with this, Buffalo Wild Wings is fired, and they should have, right?
So shout out to Buffalo Wild Wings for just doing the right thing right away.
Yeah.
You know,
like
period.
According to the hostess and the waiter, like, this is not the first time this has happened in this place.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is a known racist. As the manager of a restaurant, how do you let one guy, I don't give a damn if he comes in there every single day. How much money are you really spending at Buffalo Wild Wings in a day?
Right.
Right, like $30 a day?
He ain't keeping the doors open.
Right.
You know what I mean?
How do you let one guy
Yeah.
have that much control over your institution on an ongoing basis?
You allow that if you agree with him. That's how.
That's the problem, right? If you don't agree with him, step, bro.
Nah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
look.
Look.
You know what, man? You can go over.
If I'm the manager,
you can go
and you're racist, and you don't want to sit by black people, then I'm gonna say, well, you need to move, or you need to leave.
Yes.
I mean, that's it.
I'm not even giving you the option of moving. As soon as you say something stupid like that, I don't even care if you're black and you say you don't want to sit next to white people. Get out of my business.
Right.
Because I'm not empowering that here.
Right.
Go somewhere else.
You see, it's funny because I read this and I immediately thought of this time me and my wife went out and we sit at this table and it's two girls and a guy. They're young. They're probably like early 20s, like 23, 24, something like that. And one of them is just being loud. Like, she's just talking loud and giggling and it's that goofy, like, Valley Girl giggle that's like super annoying to everybody except her. And we didn't even get our drinks yet. And when the waitress came with the drinks, we said, hey, this table next to us is pretty loud. Is it possible if we can move, or can you ask them to, like, not be so loud or whatever? And our waitress just told us, she said, we're not allowed to ask them to move or anything, you know, or to be quiet, unless they're, like, you know, yelling something inappropriate or something. But she was like, but I will get you guys to another booth. And she moved us, and it was no big deal, and we were happy, and we enjoyed our meal, and that was the end of it. Now, that alone right there was like, she was right. We can't make them move because they're having too good of a time, and they're annoying us, and probably everybody else who sat there and moved already, because according to the waitress, we weren't the first group to sit there and move away right away.
Right.
But that waitress handled that the proper way, right? How does this, not only the hostess or who actually walked up to the group and asked them what race were they, which is like how do you walk up to a group of people and go, excuse me, like, what race are you? And of course, one of the members of the party asked, you know, like, why does it matter? And then that's when he told them, like, well, there's a guest here who doesn't like black people sitting with them, and or black people sitting near him. And then of course they were like, you know what, go get the manager. And then the manager comes out and he's like, oh, well, these tables are reserved. And they were, you know, that's where the whole incident, like, came up. So it's, you don't get to this point by not being racist yourself.
Right.
You understand? Like there's no manager who's going to enforce this, like, rule to make black people move unless you feel like black people are an inferior people.
Right.
Unless you feel like this group of people who walked in, they aren't worth it. You understand? Like, I've worked in service industries, and I can guarantee you all the myths about black people, like, oh, black people don't tip, black people always cause problems, black people real picky, and all this stuff, those rumors fly. And I'm pretty sure this racist manager and this host and this guy who went in, who was sitting in, this regular customer they have, all probably agree with all those things. And they didn't value that black family. They didn't value their money. They didn't value their time. Any of that.
I really want to know how many. Apparently, this has been just from reading the article and listening to the conversation from the host and the waitresses apologizing to this family because they're like, this guy's racist, this happens all the time, kind of thing. Like, how long has this been going on?
Right.
And this is one of those things, like, white people always ask me, well, racism really isn't a thing. Do you really feel like racism goes on? And this is yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Not only does it go on, but other people support it and allow it to continue to happen.
And see, here's what's funny. When I just say like, this is me, right? I'm a member of this family, and I'm explaining to one of my white coworkers how this happened. You know what they say? Well, how do you know the guy was really racist? Yeah. Well, how does that really make him racist?
Or what did you do?
Did he really say? Yeah. What did you do to get him to act like that? Did he really say he didn't like black people, or did he say like something else, like he just didn't like you guys? Like,
right.
You know what I mean? It's like, no, this guy specifically did not want to sit by black people. This group had just arrived. It's not like they hadn't been there long enough to get on anybody's nerves yet. They just walked in. They just sat down. How do you explain
this to the kids that are with the basketball team?
You know what? As a black person, this is something that's been explained to me as a kid. This is something that I explain to kids. It's something I explain to my kids. And unfortunately, sometimes people will hate you and not like you because of the way you look. And part of the way you look is your skin color.
Maybe that's how you explain blackface to a 4-year-old, right? If you dress like this, other white people won't like you.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, we're again, when you're explaining these things to kids, it's you have to be in front of it. Yeah. You exactly.
should not have to explain these types of things to children. These kids, all they want to do is get some food after basketball practice. That's all they want. They're just trying to get some food. They got a game tomorrow. They just, they just want to relax. And you can't relax here because you're black. I really thought like this. If Comcast wins, this is going to be okay.
This will be 100% okay.
Yes.
There's nothing anybody can do about it.
If Comcast wins, Buffalo Wild Wings doesn't have to come out with a statement.
Nope.
They don't have to fire the staff.
Again, shout out to B-Dubs for
doing the right
thing
because apparently they fired a lot of people. They just walked in and was like, "You're fired. You're fired." Everybody they did it with the
Oh, you was at the bar serving drinks? You fired too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is. I don't. It makes no sense to me, like how in this day and age, we continue to allow these things to happen. How much money has this guy cost Buffalo Wild Wings? Because again, how much money is he spending at Buffalo Wild Wings? Even if he goes there every day and he's spending $50 a day, right?
Yeah,
you're talking about $600 a month. Like, you probably lost $150 on this family. Like, there's 10 or 12 of them, right?
Right.
You lost $150, $200 on their tab alone.
Yeah.
So like, this guy his $600 isn't worth you losing the amount of money that you're losing.
Exactly.
It's sure not worth the press that you're getting. Like, if Buffalo Wild Wings had not come out right away and be like, we fired them all, people would stop going to this Buffalo Wild Wings. They would have lost tens of thousands of dollars.
How much more would it cost you, right?
Because once this story got out, people are like, even non-racist white people are like, or Asians are like, yeah, I'm not going over there because that's that racist place.
Yeah.
I don't want to be, if I go in there, then they're going to think I'm racist, so I don't want to be associated with that place.
Right.
And
even just alone, if you're the owner of a business, forget the racial aspect. You don't want one customer to cost you multiple customers. In the casino, like it's so hard to get kicked out of the casino. Like, contrary to popular belief, people think like people get kicked out all the time. It's so hard to get kicked out of the casino. But one thing you will get kicked out for is if you start costing them money.
Yes.
If you are at a table and act a fool and other people start leaving, you're getting kicked out.
Yes.
And those other people are getting comps just so they stay.
Yeah. Right? You know the other thing that'll get you kicked out of a casino real quick?
What?
Making a racist statement.
Oh, yeah, that.
People are surprised. Like, there's no tolerance in casinos for that. Like, there's no.
Yeah.
Because, believe it or not, the guys who are spending a lot of money in these casinos, they're not white.
Right.
They don't live in this country. They're not white. You're not going to go in there and make a racist statement.
Oh, trust me.
And be I don't. Can you imagine walking into a casino and being like, I don't want to play on that table because there are all Asian people there?
There was a guy at I won't say the casino, but it was one of the higher end casinos, and I was dealing poker, and there was one guy at the table, and he's a white guy, and he's just saying all this inappropriate stuff, and the floor comes over and gives him a warning, and they're like, look, you can't say that, you can't talk like that, whatever. And then that floor person, after he gives him the warning, he goes and talks to another floor person, who this floor person probably the best floor person in all of Las Vegas. But he meanwhile, the guy's at the table, and he's ranting about like, oh, I didn't offend anybody. And this guy can't be, any older than like 32, 33. And he's like, my granddad was in World War II. The things they had to deal with, and yada, yada, yada. And he's going off about basically how the country was probably, 50 years before he was born. You know what I mean? And all the things you could say, right. All the things you could say back then and get away with. And he's mad because he can't say it now. In the middle of his rant, the head floor person, who just got wind of why this guy just got a warning, he comes over and tells this guy to leave, right? She's like, sorry, sir, we're going to ask you to, rack up, take your money and leave, right? And the guy's like, oh, I got all this money on the table, da-da-da-da-da-da. And he goes, and if we allow you to stay here, you're probably going to cost us 10 times that amount of money. So we're going to ask you to leave. And that was the first time I ever heard a floor person talk about how much money a person will cost you. But that was the exact reason that this guy was being told to leave, right? Because there were people who literally had just left because they didn't want to be around this guy.
And that's the thing, like, people don't realize, like being in hotel and casino management is that, like, you learn real quick that, like, there'll be people laughing at the table, but if you walk by the table, there's those two people who aren't laughing.
Right.
They're the two people that are offended.
Right.
And they're not going to say anything because they don't want to cause a
bigger problem.
And what they might do, though, is they might get up away from the table and walk away, come over to you quietly and be like, hey, this is what's happening at the table. And this is kind of on the line.
Right.
And then if you're a smart floor person, you let them go back. You let them sit down. You wait a couple of minutes so it doesn't look like it's obvious that they're the one that came up.
Right.
Because we know that people will put heat on other people, right?
Right.
So then you give it a few minutes and you walk over and be like, look, guys, I'm having complaints from other tables or whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
This has got to stop now.
Right.
All right. And then my favorite comment is, well, this is a free country. You're right, sir. It's a free country on the corner. Inside this building, it's private property. And in private property, you either abide by our rules or get out.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It's your choice. And then most people will be like, okay, but there's always that one guy.
Yeah.
There's always that one guy that just wants to think that he knows better than everybody else. And he failed out a constitutional law, but he knows. I don't understand. It's 2019. How does this happen? And again, this was not an isolated incident at this store. I mean, just from the stories that they're telling that the waiter and the hostess and stuff are saying, like, how long has this been going on for? A year, 2 years, 6 months? How long has the store been open? Like, you let one guy completely smear. I love Buffalo Wild Wings, by the way. Like, I'm a Buffalo Wild Wings guy. I love chicken wings, and I love their the potatoes with the cheese on them. Like, I'm a Buffalo Wild Wings guy. Like, so I go there a lot. I will never, ever walk into Naperville. I don't know that I'll ever be in Naperville, Illinois, but if I am, I mean, it's just south of Chicago, so my dad lives there. I'll never walk into this Buffalo Wild Wings. You know what I mean? Like, and if Buffalo Wild Wings hadn't acted like they had, I'm not spending $600 a month there, but I'm probably spending $1,000 a year at Buffalo Wild Wings. I like them that much. Yeah. They lose it. I know it's only $1,000 a year when you think of the grand scheme, but my $1,000 and somebody else's thousands and somebody else's $1,000, and you decide, you know what? No. And then one day you ask me to go to Buffalo Wild Wings, and I was like, no, I can't go to Buffalo Wild Wings because this and this. To me, it's like the Chick-fil-A thing, like why I don't go to Chick-fil-A. Yeah. And then when I tell other people why I don't go to Chick-fil-A, they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Let's go somewhere else to eat. And you might have only lost $20 or $30 this time. Right. But you're losing. They're going to go tell somebody else the same thing. Right. You know what I mean? So then you keep losing $20 or $30, and it adds up.
Well, let me tell you the power of your individual dollar. So I believe it was last year, or it was either earlier this year or last year, when Gucci had the whole blackface sweater thing, right? So again, another blackface incident, right? So they have the little sweater, and the turtleneck of the sweater goes up over your mouth, and then there's a hole in it with lips, just like the little blackface characters. And black people went nuts. Boycott Gucci, boycott Gucci. People who can't even afford Gucci was like, boycott Gucci, right? And everybody thought this boycott don't mean nothing, and there ain't nothing happening, because Gucci's still Gucci, and they doing this. They've been a probably $100 million business for years, right? But you know what happened in that 6-month period that everybody was hating Gucci? They lost about 20 to 40 million in like quarterly revenue, right?
Right.
Now, they still made like $20 million or something, whatever it was for the quarter, but their sales literally took a huge nosedive. Like to the point that if I'm the CEO of Gucci and I've been sitting on the beach the past 6 months and I check an email and realize like, hold up, we've been making 60 million and now we down to 20. I'm coming off the beach.
Right.
Like I'm getting up like, hey, what is going on? What have y'all done? You understand? Like, so one person boycotting a place doesn't matter much, but multiple people deciding, you know what, we're not going to go. It does affect these companies. Like a lot of people still think, oh, the Gucci boycott meant nothing. It meant a whole lot. Because you know what Gucci started doing? Hiring a couple black people to say, hey, how can we fix this?
I bet you if 1 million people cancel their Comcast subscriptions this week,
oh, yeah,
I bet you the Supreme Court issue takes a whole nother turn next week. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'd be like, you know what?
Yeah,
we might want to let this one go because it's going to cost us not only the $20 billion that we lost in a lawsuit to Byron Allen, we might lose another 30 or 40 billion because people are just like, we're done. We're cutting the cord anyway, right? That's the thing nowadays anyway, right? Yep. I don't have cable. I have a bunch of apps and Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, DirecTV is better anyway.
Right. But people are starting to cut the cord.
Right.
And, or they'll leave Comcast and go to DirecTV or Dish TV or something else.
Right.
That affects Comcast.
Right.
That's how you can affect social change in this country.
Right.
With your dollar.
You don't have to have you and your whole crew do it. It's all this is the power. Like people think that those just one person doesn't have power. Every single movement, good, bad, or indifferent, was always started by one person.
And it just has to spread. Again, I talked about I haven't spent $1 at a Dillard store in over 20 years because of the way they treated me back in like 1999. And it's not something that I continually talk about, but I just stopped going there. Right. I'm not going to go anywhere that doesn't respect me or my money. And when you look now, I mean, most malls are shutting down, but Dillard's is probably the fastest one shutting down at this point. So are all of these things going to be affected right away as big as they were with like Gucci? Probably not. Right. But over time, trust me, these people will start to feel it. And if they don't, then so what? Spend your money where it's respected and where it's appreciated. Put your votes where it's respected and appreciated. We cannot continue to just keep giving people our money. And look, I'm always talking to black people, but this goes for white people too. If you show up at look, white people, go to a black owned place. And if they treat you like crap, don't go back. Because I mean what I say when I mean treat everybody fairly. I don't care what color they are. Like in my heart of hearts, like, am I kind of rooting for black people a little bit more? Yes. Why? Because I'm black. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like watching the Olympics. It's like watching the Olympics and you see a great, you're going to root a little harder for the Americans. Right. You know what I mean? Like, you really want, because that's the home team, so to speak. Like you'd be like, oh, this is a really good match, but I really want the Americans winning.
But trust me, like if ain't no Americans running and it's like some dude from Africa and some dude from Germany, I'm rooting for the African. Like I have no idea who they are, where they're from, but I'm rooting for the black dude, right? Because he looks like me. You know what I mean? And that's just human nature, right?
But you're not going to not support the white person if he's
exactly. I'm not going to not shake the white guy's hand when he wins fair and square.
Right.
You understand? Like that's the difference. Like I don't hate the white guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I really don't really care who wins. I'm just kind of rooting for this guy.
I feel like even if you're racist and you're a business owner, it's just bad business to act out on your racism.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're losing yourself money by being racist.
A couple weeks ago, we were doing the show, and
I'm
my friend
take your money if I like you or not.
Right, exactly.
A couple weeks ago, we were doing the show, and my friend Eric was commenting on the feed. He's a very successful businessman, and he was saying the same thing. He was like, "You can't pick a side because you're going to offend half of your market."
Right, exactly.
Why would you want to do that?
Right.
And I don't know what Gucci thinks, but a big percentage of their market is black folks.
Yeah.
Personally, I can find other stuff to spend. I don't have $1,200 to spend on a Gucci bag, but I know a lot of people that buy either Gucci bags or fake Gucci bags.
Yeah. Which is all marketing for Gucci.
Right, which is still marketing for Gucci. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. All right, guys, this has been Negro Please. We have 2 more episodes this month, and then we're off till after the holidays. If you have stories you want to send us, hit me up at Dallas Scott on Facebook or Instagram, Dallas Scott 73. Hit Hollywood Huff up. What's your Insta stuff?
Hollywood Huff.
Send us the articles, because that's how we got the Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah.
Somebody who watches the thing sent it to Steve, and then he sent it to me, and I was like, this just absolutely cannot be real. Unfortunately, it was real. If you have articles or things you think we need to talk about, we are open for suggestions. Send them to us. Hit us up at my Dallas Scott or Steve Huff Jr. on Facebook, Hollywood Huff on Instagram, and Dallas Scott 73 on Instagram. Thank you guys for checking in with us. We will see you guys next Thursday, 12 o'clock Pacific time, give or few, depending on the producer, Quan.
Peace.
You guys were late today.
We were hungry.
Yeah, it was lunch.